How do you do? I'm Ted Vallas. I've been around since 1921, March 11th, 1921. That seems to be a short time to me, but probably would appear to be almost a lifetime for others. On 4 different occasions, my wife and son was trying to get me to retire. I just am not in the mood to retire. In fact, I am starting a brand new enterprise that I've been thinking about for the last 30 years. And it is in aviation, and it is starting a new regional airline, which is going to be a flying and domestic, which we intend to move up to somewhere in the area of 12 to 16 aircraft with a special niche, I call it a special niche in the industry, of actually going point to point, not as a feeder to any airline, any major airline, but we'll be doing some co-sharing, code sharing. Aviation has been in my blood for the last 50 some odd years. I started that as soon as I got out of high school, I was going to go into the Navy flight program. So I had an opportunity to jump the gun in 1939 and 40 to get into the Navy ahead of time, at the suggestion of one of the Navy people that told me that if I wanted to get into aviation and aviation flying, the best way to do it is not being a cadet from a college and a university, would be to get into the military first, into the Navy first, request Pensacola, which I did. And since I was in athletics to some degree, they indicated that they did also have a football program, baseball program, and so forth at Pensacola, using all the people from university pre-flight schools throughout the country. That was, of course, before we were into the World War II ourselves. That was early 1940. In 1940, I went to Pensacola. I was accepted for the flight training program. But before I could actually get into the flying program, they came up with a new aircraft carrier, USS Wasp, and they need a complement aboard the carrier. So they took our entire group that was going to go through flight training, put us on a temporary program to serve on the USS Wasp. While on the Wasp, we did everything, started from deckhand to and just flying as second people or second person as a gunner, a radioman, and so forth. The first plane that I actually flew in was called an SB-2U2. That was somewhat of an antiquated aircraft as we look at it today, and later substituted with this Douglas aircraft that was a great dive bombing aircraft. Also was a bomber, also was used as a scout plane, and scouting for submarine activity throughout the North Atlantic. During that period in North Atlantic, I flew every day, probably 4, 5, 6 hours a day, looking for submarines. At the time, also, the British Navy's Hood had been sunk. which was a pride of the British Navy at the time, by the Bismarck. That was our next program. We were scouting all over the North Atlantic looking for the Bismarck. The Bismarck was finally discovered by one of our PBYs, which was at the time also on the program of scouting for the Bismarck. We did locate the Bismarck. The entire Navy, the British Navy, put full bore ahead and ultimately sunk the Bismarck. Our next duty was trying to get as many Spitfires over into the battle zones, North Africa, and so forth. And we were commissioned to take loads of Spitfires aboard our carrier, the Wasp, to take them to Malta, and Malta was going to be the base for protecting and fighting all the way through North Africa. The first grouping of Spitfires that we took over there were practically all lost on launch. They didn't have ammunition and so forth, and we had launched them out quite a ways from their final station. So we headed back to Scapa Flow, which is in Scotland, and we were to get another load of Spitfires, which we did. And that particular complement of Spitfires probably destroyed more bombers and more aircraft and fighters of the German Air Force of any day of the entire war, and it became a very successful operation. After getting out of the Navy, I also went into flying as crew member for the torpedo bombers that came aboard, and my last duty station was with big PBM operation, flying boats. And after getting out of the Navy, I still had an inclination for aviation. The start of aviation, I continued my flying, secured a license in fixed wing at that time, and ultimately got into the business of getting into the airline business with starting, this was a stretch, but I purchased what was called the American Inter-Island operation that American Airlines was starting up in the Caribbean. They had purchased, I think it was 7 Convairs and a full complement of spares and a repair station on St. Croix. And I had started here in Carlsbad, which is a repair station, a flight school, what you might call at the time unscheduled service with Convairs. When I bought the American Inter-Island operation from American Airlines, I had a contract with them to keep the airline running in the Caribbean and servicing their inter-island distribution of passengers for at least a 2-year period, which I did. And along with the purchase of the aircraft and the airline, I received their certification for the aircraft, which was the same certification that they would have for their own operation, which was a great find for me because immediately I recognized that we had an opportunity to move the operation from the Caribbean to the San Diego area. During that operation, got certificated for a flag and domestic operation, which allowed us to go to Mexico, Canada, and throughout the United States. And we could add any type of aircraft onto that particular certificate because it was a flag and domestic certificate. Today, it would take you anywhere from 1 year to, let's say, could extend into 2.5 years to get a certificate. I operated that airline here out of Lindbergh Field because we were not allowed at the time to operate off of Palomar. But I recognized that there was an opportunity at Palomar, so I offered to build a new terminal at the Palomar Airport. Everybody was anxious to see it done, but the FAA at the time was not receptive to starting a, let's say, 139 airport here at Palomar. Consequently, it satisfied our operations, at least with repair stations. We were able to set up 2 or 3 different repair stations. Had a repair station for all of the maintenance of any type of aircraft. Also had a repair station for avionics, radio, avionics, and instruments. Continued the flight school operation, and then added helicopter flight operations. Purchased the first helicopter for my own use, which was a Hughes 500, to support myself in flying to and from locations that I had in the golf business, flying from San Diego right to the various locations that I had throughout Southern California.